Pirate Software is a person who I've had very minimal interactions with, but I remember everybody saying about how horrible of a human being he was due to the OnlyFans drama, and how he roached out on his group, and how like 57 different streamers called him a piece of shit. And then I watched Tyler One fight Baron Geddon. And then I watched 23 of those very same streamers who cast judgment on Pirate Software also roach out in the exact same way that he did, that they claimed they never would. So this is the big issue I have with taking everything about Thor. I believe that's his name. I believe his father works at Blizzard, which he'll tell you himself a million fucking times. I take everything I hear about this guy with a massive grain of salt, because I do believe there is a witch hunt on this Pirate Software guy. Once again, I'm not saying that he's not a weirdo. However, I do think bro gets shit for a lot of things that these other people would do if they were in his position, if they were in his shoes. But I honor myself a investigator, and I will go into this completely unbiased and just try to get down to what's the truth versus what's bullshit to fill an agenda. Let's find out.
My name is Jason Thorhall, also known as Pirate Software Online.
We just want there to be prohibit publishers from disabling a game that you paid for.
Ubisoft shut down the game's servers, rendering the game unplayable, which is normal for live service games.
He changed what we were saying the initiative is about, and he completely made up saying that it was about trying to protect single-player games. So that is an advanced tactic that he pulled.
Pirate Software is a creator that is no stranger to controversy. I actually did a video on him quite a while ago talking about this huge drama he was involved in. But recently, unfortunately, he's found himself in some more drama regarding the movement Stop Killing Games. I do want to...
Okay, I've never heard of this shit before, but hopefully we get informed here. What is Stop Killing Games? All right, Stop Killing Games, a consumer movement started the challenge of the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers. An increasing number of video games are sold effectively as goods with no stated expiration date, but designed to be completely unplayable as soon as the support from the publisher ends. I think that's a very good. I think that's a very good thing to actually be in support of the Stop Killing Games. Okay, I think this is great. Okay.
I do want to say as well, the merch shop is now open, so if you want to grab yourself some exclusive limited time merch, especially from the new Server Blight video on the main channel, the link is in the description or on screen. Now, there's one thing that is more...
Why is that bad? It doesn't seem bad at all. Stop Killing Games is like a great movement.
Scummy than any kind of crypto shiller, and that usually is a video game company. So you might have noticed with video games, there has been a very fast escalation to try to make as much money out of you as possible. We don't really have new games anymore. We've got remakes, remasters, but more importantly, loot boxes, in-game transactions.
Yeah, I'll be real. Developers these days are more so looking to make a buck off of nostalgia rather than innovation. And listen, I love Oblivion 4, but I would have much preferred just an actual release date for Elder Scrolls 6. And I'm not going to complain about Oblivion 4. It was fantastic, but let's get to the point where we start making good original fucking games like we used to. But I mean, shit like Borderlands 4, where Borderlands 3 cost $147 million, and then somehow these fucking retards at Gearbox took $300 million to make Borderlands 4. It's looking like the age of video games, and I hate to say this, guys, it's looking like the age of like good video games is really coming to a close. And it worries me a lot, but there's probably a reason why I choose to react to more videos on YouTube and watch anime on Crunchyroll and Netflix than I'd rather boot up a console these days, because games just really aren't as good as they used to be. And like for example, I played the remaster of Donkey Kong Country. It's just really not that good. It's just really not. I would have just preferred a new Donkey Kong Country. And it's kind of a shame how we're doing cheap cash grabs rather than innovating new things that, generations for years and years and years can actually enjoy.
One of my personal favorite things now, for some reason...
I think the last good game was Clair Obscur. But let's be real, for every one good game, there's tens of thousands of bad games released.
You pay like $100 to basically be able to play the game 2 days before...
And let me just edit this. I don't think the era of video games is over. I think the era of AAA video games is over, because it really feels like AAA with the $80 price tag, the $100 price tag, it's just becoming unsustainable and unattainable, and it just really sucks for consumers and even devs alike, to be honest.
Everyone else can play it. I call that a streamer tax. I will die on that hill, but genuinely that is one of the most stupid things imaginable, especially because, like, let's go back 5-10 years ago, special editions, deluxe editions, usually got some pretty cool stuff. I mean, yeah, okay, there were skins. There were always skins. Look at Oblivion with its horse armor. That was always the thing. Fair enough.
The original DLC. Man, what that one thing set in motion for years to come, insane.
But now it really shows that companies like Blizzard and EA, they are just so obsessed with turning a profit and making as much money as possible while probably innovating as little as possible as well. I know I'm naming the big names here, but there are so many gaming companies out there.
Here's the reality. The majority of video games are innovating by removing features that should never have been implemented to begin with. And that's the problem. Is it's like all these developers spend these times making these games, And then for the first 6 months of their game's release, they have to remove all these shitty-ass practices they put into the game. It's a joke. And the community slop it up. They say, oh my God, these devs listened, because they remove shit rather than innovate anything new.
There that do not want to innovate, they wish they could just get you as like a little rat running on a wheel over and over, squeezing that dopamine out of you without having to actually do anything, and you keep handing over your credit card to buy some in-game currency every single time. Now, I have heard of the buzzword stop killing games, but I never really looked into it too much, but it seems to be the main focus behind it, of kind of like sticking it to the man and trying to stop these huge monolithic companies just doing whatever they want.
Good.
But despite the intentions sounding quite noble, not everyone is actually on board with it, especially one of the streamers, PirateSoftware. Now, Stop Killing Games, or the acronym SKG, is actually an initiative set up.
Maybe PirateSoftware is pro-developer because he is a developer, I think, and maybe he's giving some pro-dev take and anti-consumer takes, although I don't know why you would ever want to advocate against this.
And spearheaded by the YouTuber Accursed Farms. If you know the channel Accursed Farms, you are a certified old head. If you don't, he's most known for this incredibly long-running machinima series called Freeman's Mind. The first episode came out 11 years ago, and it's basically just a playthrough of Half-Life 1, but Accursed Farms narrates over it in the perspective of Gordon Freeman.
I heard these games were great.
What I do? What I do?
Shutting down.
No. We are bad people. Oh shit, that's the ceiling. Where's my helmet?
Oh my God, what the fuck?
See, this is what I'm talking about. Aliens aren't invading Freeman. You're just being paranoid.
Now, the video series that I know him from is Ross's Game Dungeon, and this was basically where he would play a game and do a full breakdown of it, the mechanics, the story, almost like kind of a narrated playthrough. He actually did a really good video on Deus Ex, and that was 8 years ago. Oh my God, we're all so old. He did a Game Dungeon on Deus Ex
31,
Human Revolution, and also Deus Ex Invisible War, the console one that everyone absolutely hates. I mean, I swear, like, I remember playing Deus Ex Invisible War as a kid. I did not have a problem with that game. I thought it was really cool, but I was also like 12 years old, and at that age, you're basically impressed by anything. So basically, Accursed Farms started this movement, Stop Killing Games. He was the one to establish it. I mean, a lot of people have been feeling like this for a long time, but he was the first person to actually give a title to the movement. So the entire point of Stop Killing Games, as Accursed Farm quotes, a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games that they have sold to customers.
Very fair.
Now, the Stop Killing Games movement did actually get quite a lot of traction. At the minute, the European Citizens Initiative alone has nearly 500,000 signatures. And that is an insane movement, because if you go onto Accursed Farm's channel, you can tell that he's not really a huge YouTuber, especially not anymore.
No, that's
but
insane.
Still, he is
more signatures and subs,
a movement that is a lot bigger than him, because a lot of people support this. They think that companies, especially in the gaming industry, became really greedy and just want to maximize profit while giving you as little content as possible. You know, why try to give you better experiences when, for example, there's like item stores and shops that are just churning out new skins for you to buy to feel special every 24 hours. Now, that was my little...
Yeah, the problem is these video games, they release 60% of the way done, and then over the next 6 months, then they charge you for the extra 40% that should have been included in the base game. That's the problem.
Tangent on the side, that's not even the main purpose of Stop Killing Games. The main purpose is actually trying to hold video game companies accountable for basically selling games that have planned obsolescence to try and get you to buy the next title. This is obviously games that have a heavy emphasis on online services, like, for example, Call of Duty, Battlefront, Overwatch. Star Wars Battlefront 2, as you've seen recently, has had a huge player spike, which is really funny because the game is surprisingly competent. It's mostly because, you know, May the 4th and also Andor ended, and apparently that was a pretty good ending. I actually haven't watched Andor. Apparently it's one of the few Star Wars shows that's competent throughout. There is a guy in the show called Kino, so I might actually watch it.
My name is Kino Loy.
The only problem with Star Wars Battlefront 2 at the minute, because it has such a huge player spike, EA don't really care about the game whatsoever, so it is just full to the brim with hackers. But yeah, one of the biggest problems with online services is game companies will bring out a product, and eventually, over time, which is pretty natural, people lose interest, they move on. But this then reaches the point where the owners basically go, you know what, we'll just shut down the entire servers, so now no one gets to play it, even though at the time when the game came out, you probably paid full price for it. One instance I remember of a very popular game actually shutting down its servers was all the way back when Mass Effect 3 came out. We are going back to old head era here. But Mass Effect 3 was basically the first Mass Effect to have any kind of like multiplayer mode. But then they actually enacted something called Sunset multiplayer, which meant...
You guys may not know this, but I've beaten every single Mass Effect up to Mass Effect 3 with 100% completion and got the true ending every single fucking time where I saved everybody. Dude, the fact where, like, if you let somebody die in one playthrough, they won't be there in the next was so fucking cool. So I made sure I saved everybody. I fucked everybody. Bro, I fucked the shit out of Miranda. And Talia, I believe her name was. Oh, and bro, Garrus was my boy. Holy fuck. I haven't played this in like 10 years. But that game franchise was so fucking good, bro. Oh, and Thane. Thane, my boy, bro. Thane, my boy. God damn. Fuck, that was a good-ass series. That was up there with listen, I liked all three of them. I did. Like the trilogy of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 and the trilogy of Fable, holy shit. That carried like my teen years. Damn, that shit was so good.
That they were, kind of quietly winding down the servers and you couldn't play the game anymore. Oh no, wait a minute. This was back in 2012. So in fact, the servers for Mass Effect 3 are still up. That sunset thing I talked about was talking about shutting down the servers for the Wii U on the Nintendo network. So that was basically Nintendo's choice, if anything.
Yeah.
I believe that you can actually still play Mass Effect multiplayer to this day, despite the fact that the game came out well over 10 years ago. Now, one example that people love to use here about just being completely backhanded by a video game company is Overwatch. If you bought Overwatch day one, you'd be paying around 40 to 60 pounds. For the Americans, that's like about 13 cheeseburgers. And that obviously depends on the version.
You really think we can get 13 cheeseburgers in America for $40? The McDouble used to be $2. My McDonald's across the street, $4.19 for a McDouble. $4.19. We might get 9. It's so bad. And a McChicken, $3.80, guys. Imagine that.
Version of the game that you got. If you bought the super deluxe special edition where you probably got some gold guns or something, I think you got you got a Widowmaker skin, a unique Widowmaker skin. It's a shame that Widowmaker sucks to play now. Now also keep in mind as well, the first Overwatch had no single player mode attached to it. It was online only. So less than...
I've watched so much Widowmaker gameplay. It's insane. I think she's one of the hottest characters in all of gaming, bro. Widowmaker, Tracer, Kiriko, oh my God, Luna Snow, Emma Frost. God damn, I love FPS. Mercy too, brother. Mercy, Diva, goddamn.
In 10 years in the game being out, unlike Mass Effect 3, Blizzard decided to shut down the servers for the game. Now, I get it, Overwatch 2 is free to play, I'm really happy for you, but there are people that spent so many cheeseburgers buying the first Overwatch, and they basically have nothing to show for it apart from, oh my God, wow, bro, he's got this skin that you can get 8 years ago and you can't get now.
Wow.
Oh. You know that the same people that will brag about that and think it was a worthwhile purchase are the people that are trying to hunt down every single skin in the new Doom the Dark Ages. By the way, I saw this video on YouTube showing off all the skins in the new Doom game, and I thought, wow, this is quite a long video. Surely there's a lot of skins. There aren't. There's like 3 skins you get in the game by playing the game and beating it on different difficulties. The other like 7 or 8 skins are basically from buying graphics cards or buying pizzas. That is not a joke, by the way. It's basically this new wave of marketing that is just terrible for consumers. Like, I get it. Cosmetics, it's amazing, and companies are soy-facing over the fact that we're hooked on it because it's dopamine. I get to stand out in the game. Unless everyone else buys the skin, then I don't stand out. Then I need to wait for the other skin to drop so I can stand out again. And now everyone else has bought the skin. It is just a self-fulfilling prophecy. I still remember.
It's like that shit with World of Warcraft where they would sell skins and they would sell mounts. People would buy them day one to look cool, but then they realized if you just buy a mount or buy a skin, everybody's going to have that shit within seconds. And the only type of cosmetics that are cool are the ones that you have to go earn, like the Pauldrons of Manaroth. Or the Spolders of Manaroth, whatever the fuck they were called, the Manaroth shoulders. It's been like fucking 15 years, guys. Yeah, and it's a shame because rather than developers making cool skins or cool gear that you can go out and unlock, they pay gate them, you know? And to the point where now us consumers get excited for skins because we forgot that developers used to give us all this shit for free by playing their game and enjoying their game. And it's a shame because somewhere in the video game industry, it became less about the love of the game and more of the love of making money. And it really just sucks ass.
When like the missing...
Invincible is the best Death Knight mount. Why would you even want Invincible if you can't even see it? Like, what's the point? It's the dumbest shit. You wouldn't even know if somebody has it because you can't even see it. What's the point, dude?
This incredible skin drop for Fortnite. Every little Zoomy was buying that game just because she had a fat ass. I mean, if you want to become really, really cynical, get it? I said the word, get it? You don't really own anything. You know, like for example, when you go onto Amazon or you go onto a streaming service, like you stream a show, you buy a film from Amazon, you're not buying it. It's just tied to your account. And if there's any kind of licensing changes or you can't, you know, watch this in your own country, tough luck. One really good example I have here talking more about streaming, and I absolutely despise this, is, for example, HBO Max. They have some great shows like The Last of Us. I'm sure there's some other stuff on there as well, but
you know what requires you to have 13 different streaming services to watch the entirety of the Pokemon series? Because each season is owned by a different company that you have to go and buy in order to watch all of it. Like, I don't know how long we're going to have to deal with this, but I dream one day of one streaming service having access to all episodes so I can just boot up one app and just watch shit. I am so tired of having HBO, Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, Crunchyroll, all of this shit, just to name a few. God, it's so bad for a consumer these days.
the point is, I can't watch Max unless
And guys, I'll just be real. Just pirate these fucking shows, bro. Don't give these corporations your fucking money.
I basically use a VPN and then log into like a friend's account. And then in the UK, we have Max in the UK, but it's called Now TV, which is owned by Sky, Rupert Murdoch and his, like, you know, kind of his children. And they're all from Succession, basically, the cast of Succession. I can watch Max
dumb.
shows through Now TV, but then if I travel to another country, I get region locked to the point that even if I have a VPN on, it knows I've got one. So then I can't watch the thing that I've paid for just because I'm getting a flight to another country.
Is that not insane?
It's just really backwards, really anti-consumer. I also remember this one time as well when the 28 Days Later, the zombie film that's getting another sequel pretty soon, 28 years later, that recently was changing licensing hands. So 28 Days Later, you couldn't find it anywhere. You couldn't find it on any streaming service. And that was gone for about 2 to 3 months, I think. You can find it now on like Disney Plus or Amazon and stuff. But there was a point where unless you basically had it as a DVD or you pirated it, there is no way that you would be able to watch that film. And I get it, you know, streaming is security, online services are security, but at the same time, that really goes to show that, like, if companies want, or for whatever reason, they can basically just take property away from you that you basically paid for. Now,
And you want to know why this is never going to get fixed? Because OnlyFans girls can charge $35 for a 15-second video of them slapping their ass and make hundreds of thousands of dollars every single fucking day because people who are so desperate to come will buy that shit. It's so bad, bro. OnlyFans girls ruined the fucking planet, bro. They really did. They showed how weak consumers are when put under immense pressure of needing to come.
I get it. I'm not going to be some boomer that's like, well, actually, when 28 Days Later went offline, or when this one game went offline, I had it on disc. I had it on Blu-ray, so I'm actually the alpha. I'm not saying that. I think carrying around plastic to make sure you can actually engage with something is really stupid, unless you're a collector. That is a different kind of autism I'm not going to get into. Now, I'm doing a bit of a tangent here, but focusing more on the video games. Another example, a couple months ago, Ubisoft actually put out a statement that they shut down online activity for a racing game called The Crew. And then they actually said in the statement, unironically, not even as a bit, players should get comfortable with not owning their games. I've seen this statement that gets like parroted a lot online, kind of semi-sarcastically, basically saying,
I buy everything I possibly can on hard copy, unless it's on Steam. All Nintendo Switch games, I buy hard copy. I don't buy that shit unless I'm being very lazy for a stream. Because, dude, being able to buy an $80 game, play it for 3 months, and then resell it on fucking Kijiji or Craigslist, oh man, it's so nice.
you will own nothing and be happy. I think we're pretty close to that at the minute. Now, I know I sound like a bit of a negative Nelly. Maybe this isn't so many
You don't sound negative, man. It's just that's the way things are. That's what's very unfortunate in big 2025.
games. But the Stop Killing Games movement actually did an investigation of 700 titles that had some form of online requirement for play, and they found out that 40% of these games are just completely dead. No support from the devs, and they are literally unable to be played. And then another 40% were at risk of being shut down completely. And then only 2% of all of these games that were investigated actually ended up having services that were being supported by the developers using an end-of-life plan, like an actual roadmap. Sounds like I'm talking about someone in a retirement home or something. And then there was another 14% as well, where the community, the players, have actually managed to keep the game up and running by themselves.
Good for them.
Which, if anything, reminds me like how Bethesda will release games and then the community basically has to do mod patches for them. I know it's not the same kind of thing.
Would it blow your mind if I told you guys I have like 3,000 hours in all of Bethesda games and I've never used a single mod because I'm too stupid to know how to do it? Would that blow your mind? I've played base Bethesda games my entire life because I'm that fucking dumb.
We're talking about online play here, but still, I feel like with video games, there is a huge group of people that take it upon themselves to fix a game when it should not be their responsibility. I respect it, I commend it, but it's just sad the situation we're in now. So what Stop Killing Games and Accursed Farms are trying to do is get as much support as possible through as many online signatures as they can. Will this do anything? I don't know. The problem is it's not like there's a legal requirement here. I know there's some exceptions, like for example with the UK government, if like something gets so many signatures, Parliament has to like at least try to acknowledge it. They don't have to do anything about it, they can just say no. But I think there's like some requirement they have to acknowledge it. With this, it's more of the private sector, so they might just look the other way. I think the problem is the only real way to like make these companies think, wait, we need to change what we're doing, is if people, you know, stop buying video games or stop buying microtransactions in video games. But they're not.
That's not going to happen. They're going to be around for forever. And everybody knows they're going to be around for forever.
Going to? And I mean, it's really hard to. What's the alternative? Oh, yeah, I'm not going to buy video games anymore. Their practices are like really toxic.
Yeah, that's just not happening, guys. It's just not happening.
Instead, I'm going to browse on Reddit. You could also support indie games as well. Like, for example,
they do this shit because they know they can get away with it. They know.
Been playing through this game recently called White Knuckle. It's like a climbing game with horror elements in it. It's really good. Game is very unfair though. 0 out of 10. Anyways, but being serious, if they get enough signatures, they basically could challenge the existing laws that support this practice on the basis of consumer hostility.
You know what the worst thing is? Pre-ordering electronic video games. You can pre-order our electronic video game. Is it gonna run out? Guys, you wait till the reviews come out and then you try the game, right? You don't do this shit where you blind purchase 3 months in advance. What the fuck is that? There is no reason to pre-order at all.
Or they could also get enough signatures that the government might have to actually acknowledge this and make some changes. Like, for example, you know, the EU government, they've made some amazing changes. Like, for example, with the iPhone, they now can't use lightning cables. They have to use USB-C. And that's...
Thank fucking God, bro. I remember when iPhone had to have the separate little charger that only worked for iPhones, but USB-C worked for everything else on Earth. I was like, why did you need that charger cable? Oh, we didn't. We just wanted to sell a couple accessories, man. That shit was so gay. Thank God for EU for saving America. Again, EU superiority. One day I will go to EU. Where in EU? I don't know, because I don't know what's in Europe, because I am an educated American. I'm pretty sure Italy and France and Britain are in EU, but I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Where will I visit first? I don't fucking know, but I'd love to one day.
That's it. That's all I can think of. I don't even use iPhone. I'm just sick and tired of my mate asking me when I'm out with him, oh, do you have a lightning cable with you? It's like, no, I'm on Android. No, I don't. Now, from the sounds of it, their campaign in the signatures is doing really, really well. They actually managed to acquire a citizens initiative with the support garnered, so they could possibly take all of this to the EU, which is
Germany would be
every
hype.
country in Europe except the UK.
Germany
I'm so
would
happy
be
about
fucking
Brexit.
hype.
I love it. I love it. If it wasn't for Brexit, I'd probably still be in Sweden right now. What a great law. What a great law.
Well, if I go to Germany, I'm definitely not beating the Nazi allegations.
I love Brexit. Thank you for that. Now, if this becomes a requirement for the EU, this could be huge because the EU is basically one of the biggest markets for gaming. Mostly because if you're in the UK, you probably play FIFA or Warzone. And if you're in Germany or Poland, you're racist and you play Counter-Strike. And obviously, it's reached a point right now where the government has to step in because private companies, as we've seen in basically any sector in the world, they won't regulate themselves. Why would they do that? Because regulating yourself usually means sacrificing profits. Now, this sounds like a fair request to not actually kill video games, but PirateSoftware, who, like I've said before, I've talked about on the channel, he was very against this. So if you know...
Really? I am going to go in this with the most fair open-mindedness I possibly can.
PirateSoftware, he is a streamer and a game dev, and he used to work for Blizzard and also Amazon Game Studios, and that was before setting up his own indie dev company. So PirateSoftware actually came out with 2 videos basically in opposition of Ross and his entire point of the project. The thing that I know most about PirateSoftware is he has the most unprecedented streaming stamina I have ever seen in my life. Basically, the guy streams most days of the week, usually doing 11, 12-hour streams at a time. I just don't understand that stamina.
That is
I respect respect
wild.
it, dude. I do like a 5-6 hour stream. I want to sleep for 2 days. In the first video he put out titled Stop Killing Games, he basically outlines his reasons for not supporting the initiative. I do want to give context here as well. This is a very old video. This came out around 9 months ago. I'm obviously not trying to dig up any old drama here.
Okay.
The reason why I'm talking about it is because Accursed Farms only actually responded to this 9-month-old video pretty recently, a couple of days ago, but we will get into that. Basically, his main argument points are, first of all, this is the way the industry works, and it's a standard practice to shut games down after an X amount of years.
On March 31st, 2024, Ubisoft shut down the game's servers, rendering the game unplayable, which is normal for live service games. The only thing that I can see in here that could be a problem is if they post it as not an online-only experience. But everything that I found online shows that the game was always marketed as online only. If you're going to be buying an online-only game, that means it can only run when it's online. And if the servers need to shut down in the future, far in the future, it makes sense to me for the access to that game to be cut, if it's online only.
Secondly,
Okay, so he's saying this type of practice is normalized, which I would agree it is normalized. However, I wouldn't agree that genuinely makes it right. But I don't want to say his statement is wrong because it is normalized in gaming culture. Let me continue here.
he basically
I want to hear as much as I possibly can.
says it's too expensive to expect companies to be able to keep servers up and running forever.
And there are some people that'll say, well, just make it all single player. Well, I've explained that that doesn't make any sense in the first place. If you're making it all single player, you'd have to carve off all of that, and it's developer time and money. When you already have sequels out and the game has basically no players left anyway, it makes more sense to just move on. I don't find that to be a problem from the developer perspective, and I understand that people find that to be a problem from the player perspective.
But there
I would like to say I still see nothing egregious with what he's saying. I understand what he is saying, but I want to keep going in case there's anything more.
There is also a point as well that tries to contradict this on the Stop Killing Games website. No, we are not asking that at all, that being running games indefinitely. We're in favor of publishers ending support for a game whenever they choose. What we are asking is that they implement an end-of-life plan to modify or patch the game so that it is run on customer systems with no further support from the company being necessary.
Sure.
They then list the number of games that have implemented this, like
Super
for example,
fair.
Gran Turismo Sport, Mega Man X Drive,
Very
Corner's
fair.
Bane, showing that it is possible for companies to do this.
Okay.
And thirdly, PirateSoftware claims that this will basically hurt companies in the long run. Developers will basically stop making live service games if they have to bend the knee to these changes.
If you try to tell me that every studio needs to run their live service game indefinitely or not want to run one at all, then no one's going to run them. And we're going to miss out on adventures like Final Fantasy XIV. And even though I don't play anymore, League of Legends or any other live service game.
But
I just cannot I can't agree with that. I think that what's being asked is incredibly fair, and I really don't think it'll have that ripple effect that, hey guys, this is the lifespan of the game. It's going to run for 5 years. Once 5 years is over, we will let it to where the customers can play it based off their own support, and we leave that as long as they've purchased the game. I don't see any issue with that whatsoever. I don't know why. I don't understand why Pirate would think that way. Let's see if there's anything more.
also, if you go onto the Stop Killing Games website, this is something they've tried to address as well. The regulations we are seeking
Yeah, I think community servers would be fine. Same thing with like World of Warcraft, where it was run on private servers. I think it's totally fine.
would only apply when companies decide to end support for games. At that time, they would need to be converted to have either offline or private hosting modes. Until then, companies can continue running games any way they see fit. And in response to the question of money, Stop Killing Games also says this: the costs associated with implementing this requirement can be very small, if not trivial. Furthermore, it often takes a company with large resources at its disposal to even construct games of this nature in the first place. Small developers with constrained budgets are less likely to be contributing to this problem. So again, this was a very old video that PirateSoftware put out like 9 months ago. It obviously got a bit of traction at the time, but then as the internet is the internet, everyone just basically forgets after a week. 9 months after this entire ordeal went down, Accursed Farms actually commented on the situation involving PirateSoftware in a recent live stream. And you can
I'm not gonna lie, that Accursed Farms guy looks like a evil NPC from Oblivion.
tell from his tone of voice and his energy compared to other announcement videos, you can tell it's taken a toll on him. Like, he is just not happy. Now, what Accursed Farms is accusing PirateSoftware of doing here is apparently just flat out lying. That being about the nature of Stop Killing Games in order to put his own point across. So Accursed Farms actually believes that PirateSoftware recognized that he couldn't lie about the contents of the movement, since he believes that they were pretty black and white with the way that they outlined everything, even having a whole website with a dedicated FAQ section stating their demands. So according to Accursed Farms, apparently PirateSoftware twisted the premise of Stop Killing Games from games should have an end-of-life plan, changing that to every company needs to keep all their servers up indefinitely, or they'll be breaking the law.
We just want there to be prohibit publishers from disabling a game that you paid for. And this would be making end-of-life plans mandatory for games that require it. That's it. So there's no like wiggle room on like, well, I'm for this, but against this, and then your alternative won't save any games.
So it seems that Accursed Farms thinks that PirateSoftware is pulling a bit of a straw man here, not really being accurate with the arguments and making up his own points to basically make it easier to win in a debate. So Accursed Farms claims again that PirateSoftware apparently just completely made up that Stop Killing Games was about saving single-player games that have a multiplayer attached to them.
PirateSoftware, I'm thinking again. I think part of him realized he couldn't change what was written in the documents. If he didn't report what was in the actual initiative itself, somebody would see that and he would get called out on it. So what he did is he changed what we were saying the initiative is about, and he completely made up saying that it was about trying to protect single-player games. That was made up. We never brought that up anywhere. In fact, we had to add that in afterwards.
And Ross also goes on to say that this was a much smaller reason than why Stop Killing Games was set up in the first place. The majority of games that are multiplayer and single-player that shut down their servers, you do still have the option to play them in single-player. Like, for example, Far Cry 3. The servers have been shut down a long time ago. And that sucks. The multiplayer was fun. I especially liked the part where if you got MVP, you could do like a funny taunt to the MVP of the enemy team.
Hurry up!
What?
Let's play!
Oh my god. Oh!
But yeah, those servers shut down in 2022, but you can still play the campaign for yourself. I mean, my Far Cry 3 video, like that, if they shut down the entire game, if the single player was online only, Far Cry 3 on my main channel, that would never exist as a video. Now, at the time, a lot of people tried to accuse PirateSoftware of basically trying to dilute the real movement.
Before Ubisoft became pussies, well, unfortunately, the world has kind of made every single company bend a knee to what they can and cannot show, and it's no longer allowed to be funny or edgy on the internet anymore because everybody's so fucking sensitive that I really don't blame these companies for becoming PC because they fucking have to. Just look what happened with Baby No Money. I know that Baby No Money was a nice guy to talk to, but the problem is he's so fucking afraid of any criticism whatsoever that he just bends the knee to every single woke mob that's slightly outraged. It's just pathetic, guys. It really is.
Accursed Farms was trying to lead. And also as well, PirateSoftware has around 3 million subscribers, which is a huge amount. And Rust, on the other hand, has under 400,000 subscribers. So it's obvious that PirateSoftware has a lot more reach, a lot more like clout. But at the same time, like, to be devil's advocate, is that really his fault? He couldn't really, you know, like take away his own subscribers to make the playing field more even. It just feels like a bit of a mute point to me. But Accursed Farms also goes on to say that he tried to reach out to PirateSoftware for a dialogue, but he was ignored on multiple occasions.
And then, of course, refuses to talk to me, and then deletes the video where he says he refused to talk to me and deletes my comments. Yeah, and then he's a much bigger streamer and YouTuber, so I could only do so much against that. So that is an advanced tactic that he pulled.
But I do want to say as well, apart from Accursed Farms' word, we don't actually have...
I'm never gonna dismiss or... I'm just trying to be completely fair here. I'm not going to guilt or cast judgment on any streamer who doesn't want to talk to a streamer that's significantly lower than them. If I have 8,000 viewers and some guy with 3 viewers or 50 viewers or 100 viewers is chirping and chirping and chirping, the problem is that if you ever talk to these guys, then that will incentivize every small streamer to come at you and your life will become hell. So I'm not really going to chirp or try to rag on Thor for not wanting to talk to this guy. However, I do think his point that it's unattainable or unsustainable for developers to actually add support to their games long term and then transfer it to customer side is unsustainable. I just don't think that that's true. Maybe there's a part of me that's ignorant and I don't know the ins and outs of gaming, but everything to my mind has seen that hundreds of thousands of other games have already done that. Why is it a problem now?
Have any proof of this. It's basically just what he's saying. I mean, one point he's talking about as well, about his comments being deleted. I'm not sure if those are YouTube comments, but YouTube comments are the most reliable comment system in the entire world, genuinely.
True.
Unless someone plucks out your comment and pins it to the top of the page, your comment will be buried. That's
True.
one of the reasons why I stopped commenting on YouTube videos, because there's no point. Like, if I comment on a video, I'll probably get 1 like and then 5 replies.
And the problem is, for a lot of videos that talk about critical nature shit, the biggest retards get upvoted the most. Right now, I pride myself where I even actually put out a community note about 3 weeks ago where I've been dipping my toes into a lot more controversial videos. Dude, the elegance and grace that my community has been dealing with these things have been astounding. Because for some reason, and this is what confuses me, when dealing with gotcha drama creators, there's some fucking retards in my chat. When it comes to gotcha shit, there's some fucking retards. But when it comes to like real world like issues, chat's like, oh, okay, hold up, let me lock the fuck in. And I've been very fortunate with that. YouTube's IQ is going through the fucking roof right now. And I'm really hoping it stays that way.
Telling me to piss off. Like, I just gave up doing that. So what's the moral of this video? Don't play AAA games where they might shut down the servers after 5 years or make a sequel every year. Play indie games. Like, for example, a very family-friendly game that I'm playing through right now called White Knuckle.
Yeah, I think it was a great video. I think there's a lot of truth with what Pirate is saying. However, I don't believe it's as unsustainable as he's leading people to believe. Now, once again, maybe I am ignorant. Maybe I don't know the whole truth. But from my mind, I've seen hundreds of thousands of other examples, other video games already doing this type of model. And I think it's pretty fair to say that if somebody buys a video game and you advertise it as an online experience, you really shouldn't be able to take away that online experience or give no access to the community from maintaining that themselves. That makes no sense to me. But what do you think? I don't really think it's that crazy. I think probably Thor's will probably get a fuck ton of shit for this, but there's a lot of truth to what he said. However, I just think one point is slightly skewed. Yeah, it was a very pro-corporate take. That's just my opinion. What do y'all think?